Good morning.
Morning.
And we're live here at Malulabar. Welcome to all of our new members. We've had lots of people coming in. Again, seeing you come in from Deb's group, the Gentle Breastfeeder, and some of the other groups out there around conscious parenting, peaceful parenting. And you'll notice if you've come in and had a bit of a stalk around at all of our content, that you don't find all that much about children's behaviour. You'll find that this group is so much more about how you kind of put the focus back on yourself and doing the internal work. So we do obviously hear though, and we put it in the copy for this Facebook Live, that we hear parents say things like, oh, my child isn't listening to me, and my child's ignoring me, and my child is disrespecting me. And this is the group, and Jo's got a story to illustrate. We've been through that where we felt like that ourselves. But this is the group where you're going, our focus is on shifting it back to you, not on your child's behaviour. So what happened to you, Jo? Where does this, one of the things we always get stories around for this is like tidying up the house.
Yep, tidying your room. Saturday mornings were a nightmare in our home. I had 3 kids. This is when they're all in primary school. And Saturday mornings I turned into a monster just getting them to clean their rooms. And years later was interesting. I'll come back to that, but years later I'm in the car with my daughter who was then late teens, 18 or so, and she's saying, we're talking about parenting, and she's saying, Mum, there's some things you probably could have done better. Thought she was being quite generous with just some things, actually. And at this point, she could actually say this to me. Years earlier, I would have blown up at her trying to tell me how I could have been a better parent.
Yeah.
But she was able to tell me that the Saturday mornings, cleaning their rooms, I could have done it differently. I didn't have to get so angry and so loud, and I said to her, but back then I thought that's the only way I could get things done. I went straight into, being because I felt that they would not do anything that I said, so I'm not feeling heard, I'm not feeling respected, they're not doing what I ask.
You would have been saying the same thing, wouldn't you? You would have been saying, my children, they don't listen.
Yeah. All I'm asking them to do is to clean their rooms. Why can't they just do it? Why do I have to ask over and over and over again? Why do I have to get angry to get anything done around here? And it was just the same thing every Saturday morning, the same thing. And so interesting that there's stories from my sisters that were similar that I didn't recognise till later, like to look at for the source, because I'm at my sister's one time, and there were quite a few of us there, and the place was getting a bit messy. And next thing, she's in the bedroom where we were staying, and shoes come flying out of the bedroom. She's cleaning up in there, but she couldn't ask us politely, kindly, to just tidy it up a bit. She's lost her shit and she's throwing shoes out of the room, and I thought, oh my goodness, that's me. And then I'm talking to another sister, and she told me about when her son was tidying up his room, and he'd try really hard. She can see that when she looks back now, but she'd go into the cupboard, and she would pull clothes out of the cupboard and go, they're not folded properly, they're not set in properly. And I thought, whoa, this is a bit familiar. Where is all of this coming from? How come 3 siblings do things the same way?
Yeah, which is something that we go into massively when you come to our course, that you start to learn that this is also probably something that your mother did, and you are repeating a pattern. So did you finish what Ellen then said to you in the car when she was 18? What did she?
Oh,
did
yeah,
say that yeah.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
We were able to have a calm conversation that you could have done it better. You didn't have to yell at us. You didn't have to make it so horrible. They always knew what was coming every Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing that we understand, and this is why our course, if you come and join our course, which starts in February, that we're having an intake of people, and if you're interested, then please put yes under this video, and we shall tag you in a file we've got in our announcements section if you want to go in there and have a look. At that first, it tells you all about what happens in the course. It's got a link to the course, and when you come along to that, then we start showing you how you can change. Like Jo had those programs kind of instilled in her from her own childhood. So that's why she's just repeating a pattern there. And at the time, she didn't know how, she didn't even know that, of course. You wouldn't have been aware of that.
Nope.
The same as me. But once you do know that, then you can stop. It seems like, I mean, back then for me, that was even someone telling me that would have been just crazy. No, I can't. I won't get anything done if I'm not angry. Like, and my value back then was to get things done. Like, I was not consciously thinking about what is my highest value here in this moment. And that is one of the biggest things that we explore in our course. We have a module on values. In fact, it's so important that we've actually put it in the file section of the group as well. So you can do that module of our course for free if you're in this course. And we do run workshops where you can join and do that module with us. So we might be doing one of those in February, so look out for that. And by doing that module, you start to become consciously aware of what your values are. So what would that be for you in that moment now, do you think, Jo? If you could consciously...
So if I could go back to that moment and I was aware of my values, like that day in the car when my daughter was able to talk to me and tell me something that she thought I could do better. To me, that is connection, and they're the kinds of conversations that I want to have with my children.
Yeah.
Back then, I didn't know how to do that. Like, that would have been, to be able to have that conversation over tidying their room, I would have chosen every single time. Yeah. But I was so unaware of what I was doing and how I was putting the blame on my children. They are doing this. They are not listening. They are, rather than, we're all about shifting the focus to what's going on inside me in this moment, not making a judgment on their behaviour, making a diagnosis of what they're doing. What is going on inside me? It is it sounds so simple, but it's so profound. It is such a big thing, and it is a different way to live your life.
It totally is, and that is so true, Jo. It sounds so simple, and yet Jo and I totally, because we see us, I say to the parents in the groups all the time, I wish I had movies of me that I could show you. you would all see and totally understand that I've been where all of you have been, where you're just so frustrated and so irritated and so annoyed, and you don't know how to change it, and you're so triggered. I was so triggered all the time with my kids. So I wanted to be that calm, gentle, peaceful parent, but my triggers were the biggest problem. They were always the biggest problem, and I didn't even know that back then. So we do get how difficult it can be, especially in the heat of the moment, and especially, so put it this way, if you've had 30 years growing up with somebody where cleanliness and having a tidy house and all of that is a major priority, and that's all you've seen, all you've experienced in your life, like changing over to a different value, like I can say, yes, it can happen overnight, because I never want to put limits on anything. It's totally possible for that to happen overnight. But why we have an 8-week course and why nearly all of the parents, I would say like 95% of our parents sign up for the 6 months afterwards to keep working on themselves, is because they understand that 20 years of programming and 20 years of conditioning, is this is how my life was, takes a fair bit of rearranging your brain, which is what we do on each of the calls each week, where we really deep dive down into where does this all come from? How come this is such a big trigger? Because sometimes it's really simple, tiny little things that you go, and people are saying, oh, you know, you'll be fine. It's like, why is this a problem to you? And I used to just think I was going crazy until I found a way to kind of change. It was all coming from my past, always, isn't it, Jo?
And it's interesting when you first step into the program, or when you come in and you do your values, you may find that your values change over time if you clear up the subconscious programming, the conditioning around the values, like Ilka was talking about. So you may think that having a clean, tidy house is your highest value.
Yeah.
But when you recognize where it comes from, where the links really are, and you clear that stuff up, then you're open to values that are more truly aligned with who you want to be in the world, that are not limited by the conditioning and programming that was given to you by others.
Yes, such a good point. And it's not to say, you might be, you know, if you've come from where and you feel like having a really clean and tidy house is your highest value, it's not to say you can't keep that.
Yes.
But you're going to, by going back into your past, one of the things we do on the tapping calls is go back into the past. So for example, with Jo's example, we would go back and get her to step into the memories where she was a child and having to keep things tidy, or having to, you know, have the relationship probably that she had with her own mother in relationship to cleaning. And we're going to tap on all the emotions around that. We're going to and then what happens is you're not going to be like, because really the problem wasn't the cleaning the room on a Saturday morning. The problem there was the anger that was linked to it.
Yes.
So what we do in the calls is, yes, you can have a value around having a tidy house and all of that, but because it goes with so much anger from your past, and then you're passing down we call it like the ministry of anger, being passed down again, we just unlink it from anger. And this is why we run the course, because we could talk about this for hours on these Facebook Lives, but we have the course for that. You learn much more about how all of that works, how we use the Faster FT system. If you're new again, go to the announcements. You can listen to an interview that I did with my mentor of Faster FT. He's taught me all that I know over the last 7 years around the techniques that we use in the course to help you shift your programming, your conditioning, and therefore stay, you know, choose the life that you want to have and be able to do it without all the emotions that are not serving you anymore.
And as part of the group, we've also got another a private Facebook group where women who have been through the work are there, and they're cheering you on, they're supporting you, they know, and they're still clearing up stuff all the time, as Ilka and I are all the time.
Yes.
Because we're human, there's always stuff to clear, to clean. But the group is growing, and the women are supportive of one another, and we're all facing similar challenges. If you go to the underlying emotion, not necessarily the behaviour that's going on around us, but what's going on inside us, there are similarities across us all.
Yeah, and it's a really strange and kind of radically new concept, but it is becoming more and more well known in the world that when you start to shift your internal world, which truly is the only place you can shift anything, you can't control another person, you can't control how your child thinks or how they feel or any of that. In fact, if you do, you'll just be gaslighting them, and you will remember how that felt for you as a child. And if you're in this group, that's probably something that's the last thing you want to be doing. So the shift is always back onto us, and I've forgotten where I was going with that. But that
we're always going to look inside of ourselves.
Yes, we're always going to look inside of ourselves.
And it's magic, seems magic, but the outer circumstances change when we shift what's going on inside of us.
Yes, and I got a message this morning or late last night, from a mum who told me that she'd done a whole heap of tapping on some emotions that were coming up for her. And then miraculously, the things that she was so worried about with her children had miraculously healed really quickly, changed. And Jo has a brilliant story about this. I mean, you were taking Kate to the specialist for an ear infection, and then Jo went and did all of her tapping.
So we went to my daughter. She's 18 at this time, but she knew I didn't go to doctors very often. So she asked me if I would go with her because it was something she was a little uncomfortable with. She had an earache. And so we went to see the doctor. He checked it out and he wanted to send her to the specialist, gave us a referral. In the meantime, I go home and I work on my guilt around her having an earache and me not being able to help her. And what comes up for me, well, I'm doing this, was that might have a little bit more tapping to do here.
Okay. Let it go.
When she was little, I think she was 3 or 4, and we were in the pool and she had floats on and she needed to go to the toilet, and she went out to the toilet and she walked back in without floats on, and she walked straight into the pool and down. She was down in the water, no one was watching. And for a little while she was fine, got her out, but there was kerfuffle and she's trying to breathe, and I felt very guilty around that. Now the link here is that the doctor said he thinks it's swimmer's ear. And that helped me go back and find this time in the pool. And so when I cleared up my guilt, I know this sounds crazy, my guilt around her having an earache, the earache went away. I rang her and I didn't go, hey, is your earache gone? I went, hey, how you going? How you feeling? How's the ear? And her earache subsided. And then a few days later, it came back again a little bit. She said, Mum, it's coming back. Can you do that thing that you do? And so I went away and I did that thing that I do again and looked for a little bit more guilt around the whole memory, tapped on it, cleared it up, and her earache went away. Crazy shit, hey?
It's crazy shit. But it's awesome shit. So that is the kind of awesome stories we're getting. We're collecting more and more and more of these amazing stories every day in our group, and we are so appreciative that the ladies share, the mums. And this is a group for dads as well. We're hoping even this year that we're putting it into motion, I should say, that we're getting a dads group up and running as well. So a dad's tapping call up and running, a dad's course, but the mums at the moment, and the mums are all saying that, they are always telling us that they tapped on this, they tapped on that, they tapped in the heat of the moment. And again, in the announcement section, if you start there, there's a post there that if you're new to this group, it will show you all the places that you can see. Even the first workshop that we ran, where I actually did a mini session on one of my friends who came in, and you can see how deeply we kind of dig into someone's asking questions, finding out where this comes from. I've been doing this work now for over 7 years. So every day asking people, tapping away things, shifting stuff, and the miracles, the magic that happens, and the changes that you'll feel inside yourself. But then, of course, you become a different parent. And this has an like Jo's story is just amazing. There's many of those amazing stories, but the simplest one is just that the next interaction will be more calm, will be more peaceful. It will be a more conscious choice to live from your values in that moment, and that's whatever they are for you. We're not in this group to say what you should value in life. That's totally your choice. Apart from, becoming an axe murderer, probably wouldn't be good with that. But as long as you're not hurting anyone else, it's your choice what you do with your life and how you live it.
So once again, there's loads of information that we've just shared here, and there's loads of information in the group. If you're interested in knowing more about the 8-week course starting on February the 1st, just pop a yes in the comments below, and we'll guide you to where to go next, and we do 30-minute free discovery calls to see where you're at in life right now and if what we do resonates with you. Yes. And it's pretty cool stuff, but the big thing is when you shift what's going on inside you, your world around you shifts.
It does. It's pretty phenomenal. Yes, and learning how to change that. I want to, I try to speak in limitless and everything's possible language, because that's how I want to view the world. But we have found that being in that supportive group of people, taking a time, like I personally had to take my time, and I had a lot of programming to shift. So, and I'm still tapping on myself, 7 years later every day. So, and in the beginning, I had some really deep programming around abandonment, rejection, all of the good stuff, and so did you, Jo.
And it's a simple, free tool that you will have for life.
Yeah. Yes. And even once you've done enough of the calls, you start to learn how to ask yourself the questions. You can hear my voice inside your head going, "Well, how do you know that that's like that?" And things. So as many of the ladies can say, I'm sure that they start hearing the questions as opposed to going to their children and saying,
Yes.
"What's wrong with you today?" It becomes, "How am I being triggered today? Oh, that really triggered me." And then learning to tap, learning to go, okay, where's that coming from? I'll take that to my next call. I can really dig deep and find out where it's coming from, change the childhood emotional programming around that, change the memories around that. That's a whole other conversation. There's stuff in the file section about that. Now, if you're new again, go to the superb scientific stuff file, and you can learn lots about how memories work. If that's something that interests you, there's lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff in the file section too, if you're new.
Yeah.
And we look forward to having some of you join us on the 1st of February.
Yes, very exciting.
For our new course.
Awesome.
Okay.
So reach out if you'd like to know more.
Yeah, put a yes in the comments and we'll connect up with you.
Yeah, wonderful. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.